5:12 a.m. hours. Strait of Hormuz, northern approaches off Keshm Island. The sea is glass flat under a pale dawn haze, tanker silhouettes moving like slow machinery. Deck crews work in routine silence. Then the E-to-D scope blooms, multiple fast contacts surge from the coastline, and the comm ruptures. The first detection is not visual. It is electromagnetic. ANA-PY9 on the orbiting E-to-D Advanced Hawkeye paints a clustered surface picture at 46 nautical miles, then a second layer above it, low, fast, sea-skimming tracks that do not match commercial traffic. The system assigns confidence codes. The threat matrix updates in seconds. 24 small craft, 8 airborne objects, 2 unknown emitters, Link 16 floods, the strike group with icons and vectors. The tactical action officer does not raise a voice. He does not need to. The 199 lights shift from blue to amber. Rules of engagement are confirmed. Identification windows collapse. The battle space compresses into a narrow channel with no margin for error. At 5:14 a.m. hours, the carrier strike group is already in posture. A Nimitz-class carrier holds station with escorts spread in a layered screen. A Ticonderoga-class cruiser in the forward arc, to Arleigh-Burke-class destroyers offset to port and starboard, and a fast combat support ship trailing the formation. The geometry is deliberate. The strait is a funnel. Every contact inside it is either controlled or lethal. At 5:16 a.m. hours, the E-to-D pushes a refined track file. The surface cluster accelerates. High-wake signatures, irregular spacing, classic swarm tactics. They run at 35 to 45 knots, hugging the Iranian side of the channel, trying to blend into the background clutter of fishing dhows and coastal traffic. Above them, 8 low-altitude tracks ride the radar horizon at 60 to 120 feet. Their closure rate is wrong. Their profiles are wrong. A cruiser SFB-1DV locks them into the air picture. Inbound, sea-skimming, subsonic, consistent with anti-ship cruise missiles. The tactical action officer issues the first hard command. Weapons tight, sensors hot, engagement envelope primed. At 5:17 a.m. hours, combat air patrol shifts from routine to intercept. To F/A-18E Super Hornets, break from an overhead stack and push east, throttle to military power. An EA-18G Grover climbs behind them, its electronic attack suite already sampling the spectrum. The carrier SR Boss clears the deck for a rapid launch cycle. A second pair of Hornets spools on catapults, armed for maritime strike, AGM-65 Maverick, on the outboard pylons, 20 millimeters loaded, targeting pods warmed. The objective is immediate. Separate the swarm from the missile layer. Kill the sensors. Kill the shooters. Force the enemy to make mistakes. At 5:19 a.m. hours, the first hostile electronic signature spikes, short bursts, frequency hopping, likely shore-based targeting support. The Growler responds, jamming blooms across the band. The emission disappears, then returns, weaker and erratic. The E-cutter keeps the track continuity. The cruiser as Aegis system does not blink. It predicts intercept points. It assigns weapons. The timeline becomes arithmetic. At 5:21 a.m. hours, the first shipboard system activates by range. The forward destroyer cues SM to engagement logic, but holds fire, and Structural preserves long-range missiles for high-confidence targets. The air threats are now at 38 nautical miles. The surface swarm is at 34. The sea is too narrow for indulgence. The cruiser begins illumination procedures. The destroyer to starboard brings its 5-inch gun to standby, muzzle depressed toward the waterline, ready for rapid surface action. The MH-6 RC Hawk lifts from the aft destroyer at low altitude, sonar not deployed, Mission shifted, surface interdiction and over-the-horizon targeting. It moves like a dark insect over gray water, rotor wash shredding the haze. At 5:23 a.m. hours, the strike package receives its first positive hostile confirmation. Electro-optical feed shows fast craft with external fuel bladders, crew-served weapons, and at least 4 hulls carrying box launchers aligned forward, short-range anti-ship missiles or rockets. No national markings. No attempt at disguise now. They are moving to attack geometry. The Hornets descend to 500 feet, staying under the low cloud shelf. They are inside Maverick parameters. At 5:25 a.m. hours, the air tracks drop lower. Sea skimmers tightening to 30 feet. The Aegis system declares them hostile based on flight profile and emission association. The tactical action officer gives the order. The cruiser fires first. 2 SM-2s leap from the vertical launch cells, white plumes punching through the dawn. Missiles away. Time to intercept. 62 seconds. The destroyer follows with a 2-missile ripple. 4 interceptors climb, then tip over, hunting along predicted vectors. At 5:26 a.m. hours, the E-2D calls the merge. The first incoming missile is at 22 nautical miles, skimming so low its wake is a line of disturbed spray. The SM-2s dive. Proximity fuses arm. 1 intercept occurs at 18 nautical miles. An abrupt flash, then nothing but debris vapor and falling fragments. His second intercept follows 3 seconds later. 2 targets down. 6 remain. At 5:27 a.m. hours, the Hornets engage the surface layer. A GM-65 Maverick locks on a lead-fast craft at 7.2 nautical miles. The pilot holds steady for 2 seconds. Missile away. Impact in 14 seconds. Direct hit. The boat disintegrates into a rolling fireball. A second Maverick takes a trailing craft carrying a launcher box. Impact. The hull splits. The water turns black with fuel and smoke. At 5:29 a.m. hours, the remaining cruise missiles split, 2 angle toward the cruiser, 4 toward the carrier as centerline. The Aegis system reassigns. SM-2 and ESSM logic overlaps. The destroyer fires evolve Sea Sparrow missiles in a rapid sequence. Launch, launch, launch. Short, violent bursts from the cells. The air picture becomes a ladder of intercept points. At 5:31 a.m. hours, the first leaker breaks through the mid-layer. It is at 9 nautical miles, still sea skimming, still fast. The cruiser shifts to close-in timing. Phalanx CIWS spins to life. Its radar locks. The barrel cluster rotates. The weapon S-tone, rising into a mechanical scream. The system tracks the inbound missile at 3,500 yards. Burst. The air in front of the ship becomes a gray line of tungsten. The missile shatters. Debris splashes 800 yards short. At 5:33 a.m. hours, the MH-60 RC Hawk identifies additional fast craft flanking wide, attempting to come around the screen and push into the carrier's stern quarter. The helicopter marks targets with laser designation and data link queuing. The starboard destroyer's 5-inch gun answers. First salvo. The sea erupts in tall white columns. Second salvo. 1 fast craft is obliterated. Only spray and fragments remain. A second craft veers hard, colliding with its neighbor in panic geometry. The swarm loses cohesion. That is the critical moment. At 5:35 a.m. hours, the enemy changes tactics. 2 fast craft pop smoke and attempt to close inside to nautical miles, likely carrying explosive payloads for a terminal ramming attack. The destroyer's remote weapon stations open fire. Short bursts. Precise. The lead craft is cut apart. The second keeps coming, burning, still moving. A final burst from the 25 mm snaps its bow upward. The hull flips. It disappears under its own smoke. At 5:37 a.m. hours, the last two cruise missiles attempt a low-angle terminal dive, trying to defeat radar tracking. The system anticipates the maneuver. SSM intercepts hex 0.1 nautical miles, then 5.4. Two white flashes, two expanding rings of vapor, no impact, no secondary detonations on U.S. hulls. At 5:38 a.m. hours, the air becomes a layered roar. Jets overhead, CIWS spooling down, 5-inch gun cycling, alarms chirping in 199. Sea surface is now debris field. Burning fuel patches drift in irregular circles, pushed by rotor wash and the carrier's own slow forward motion. The tactical action officer calls the tally in a flat voice. Missiles intercepted. 8 vet. Fast craft destroyed. 11 confirmed. Fast craft disabled or abandoned. 6. Remaining contacts are turning back toward the coast, breaking formation, trying to vanish into the shoreline clutter they used as cover. At 5:40 a.m. hours, the strike package presses the advantage. The Hornets make a second pass with guns and remaining Mavericks, staying outside man-portable air defense envelopes. Short bursts of 20 mm walk across the waterline of fleeing boats. Two more craft vaporize into spray. The Seahawk stays high enough to avoid small arms arcs and continues to mark targets. The destroyers hold fire discipline to avoid collateral vessels. The swarm collapses into scattered survivors. At 5:43 a.m. hours, the last meaningful threat ends. The battle space steadies. Smoke columns still climb. The radar picture clears. Aegis returns to search mode. The carrier maintains flight operations. The sea lane is still open. 17 minutes after initial contact, silence arrives in stages. At 5:55 a.m. hours, damage control reports across the strike group are definitive. No U.S. ships struck, no mission-critical systems degraded. One destroyer reports superficial fragment impacts on an outer catwalk, minor, paint scraping, no penetration. Casualty reports are minimal. Two sailors sustain minor hearing injuries from close-in weapons discharge. They are treated and returned to duty. Over the water, rescue posture begins immediately. A rigid-hull inflatable boat deploys to recover survivors from disabled craft, but only after the area is cleared for secondary threats. The MH-60 RC Hawk circles above the burning patches, scanning for additional emitters and any sign of submerged hazards. No Mark 54 torpedo launch is required. There is no submarine queue, no underwater track, no acoustic anomaly. The threat was surface and air, defeated in layers. The tactical lessons were immediate. The Strait punishes hesitation, and it rewards integrated fire control more than individual platform heroics. The engagement demonstrates what modern naval doctrine has rehearsed for decades. Distributed sensors feeding a single weapon quality picture, with layered defenses firing by range and probability of kill. The E-to-DS early detection is decisive because it extends the decision window. Those additional minutes allow the strike group to allocate interceptors rationally rather than reflexively. The Growler's jamming does not win the fight alone, but it fractures the enemy's targeting chain at the worst possible moment, forcing seekers to fly blind and making swarm coordination brittle. Strategic ramifications, cascaded beyond the tactical kill chain. The Strait of Hormuz is not simply a choke point. It is an economic artery with a narrow margin for disruption. A swarm and cruise missile composite attack, even if partially successful, could have forced commercial traffic into a halt, driven insurance rates upward, and invited rapid escalation across regional bases and Allied ports. Instead, the engagement reinforces as a different message. Maritime coercion fails when confronted by a carrier strike group operating with disciplined rules of engagement, persistent airborne early warning, and hard-kill intercept doctrine. Regional actors absorb the implications at different speeds. Gulf states see the demonstration of protective capacity. A sea lane defended in real time, under threat, without visible panic. Iran's calculus shifts as well, because the cost curve becomes clearer. Low-cost boats and missiles can create theater pressure, but they do not guarantee damage against layered Aegis defenses when the targeting network is degraded. This engagement fundamentally reshaped the immediate operational narrative in the corridor. Attacks that rely on saturation must exceed not just magazine depth, but also the sensor integrity that enables coordinated arrival times. Without synchronized terminal timing, swarm tactics become a series of isolated targets, each one inside a predictable engagement envelope. Doctrinally, the event highlights the renewed relevance of close-in systems that some strategists once dismissed as legacy. Phalanx, CIWS, still matters. An leaker survives the mid-layer, and its reaction speed compresses the final seconds into survivable math. It also underscores the importance of aviation in maritime defense. Combat air patrol does not only shoot aircraft, it kills surface threats early, disrupts launch platforms, and prevents follow-on salvos. The presence of MH-60 or Seahawks adds a flexible, persistent sensor that can classify and cue surface contacts beyond the ship's horizon, turning a narrow sea lane into a controlled grid. At 6:01 a.m. hours, the last fires burn low. The carrier strike group holds course, escorts reforming their screen with practiced geometry. 49 minutes of elevated posture ends with a return to routine watch rotations, but nothing in the strait is routine now. The timeline is etched into the operational record. 8 inbound missiles, 17 minutes of contact, 0 U.S. ships hit. The strait remains open not through negotiation, but through demonstrated capability.